Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast, where we don't take from insurance companies. Here are your hosts, Mr. Jordan Comstock and Mr. Ben Tuine. This podcast is sponsored by BoomCloud Dental Membership Software, www.boomcloudapps.com, and Veritas Dental Resources, www.veritasdentalresources.com. Enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast. I am your host today, Jordan Comstock, and today I have a very fun guest, the one and only Debra Nash. Debra, what is up?
Oh, man, everything is up. And you know what's really interesting? We were talking about navigating insurance. You know, right now, as in my consulting faction of what I do, a lot of my calls have been, come and help me get out of insurance.
Sure.
Come and teach my team. What do I do? How do I get out of maybe not every plan, but some plans, and some of them are how do I get out of how do I transition out of these plans?
Yeah, no, it's a big topic in the industry today, is getting rid of those insurance companies because, as you know, they cause lots of problems.
Well, because in fact, when we talk about statistics, when I'm looking at data for a practice, we look at profitability. One of the things I always want to say, and I say it in my lectures, I say it to my clients, I want to take a look at your what was your gross production and what was your net after write-offs.
Sure.
And write-offs could be the benevolence of the doctor, the family members, the discounts. But the other one I'm going to take a look at, what was your insurance write-off? And you and I were having a previous conversation about, I had a client in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and it took me a long time to learn how to say Murfreesboro.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a tongue
Murfreesboro.
twister.
And it's spelled so weird. But I looked at their gross versus their net, and they wrote off $367,000 in insurance write-offs, insurance adjustments, based on what their 7,000. So what their actual fees were basically on what their agreement was with the plans when they were in network. And here was the really sickening part. They were paying the associate on gross production,
Yikes.
not net.
Yeah.
So the associate, she was being
money they don't have.
She was being compensated for money they would never get.
Yeah.
It's not even like it was an accounts receivable issue.
Yeah.
They're never going to get that money. So the question always is, how can I afford to get out of insurance? Well, there's $367,000 that you're never going to see.
Wow. That makes me sick.
Yeah, that's a lot of write-off. It's a lot of write-off.
That's a lot of cash for lots of different things in the practice and for the practice owner personally, right? That's insane. It's crazy that the industry's been accustomed to working with insurance like this. To me, for some reason, I've been in the dental industry for some time, and I still am like, man, why do so many people work with insurance companies and the PPOs? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And maybe part of it is I grew up watching my mom work with PPOs because she worked from home when I was a kid, and I heard her cussing and screaming at insurance companies all the time, after she got off the phones with them. Maybe that's kind of how I look at them, because it's trauma from my childhood.
Well, it's interesting. I'll give you an example. Just happened a few moments ago. Ross's, Dr. Nash's, and Dr. Rimlinger's treatment coordinator came in, and we're trying to deal with it was an accident claim. Patient she had a stroke. She fell, she broke some teeth. So it is becoming a medical claim now as well, as opposed to dental. And Rhonda she said, I was just spent 2 hours on hold with the insurance company. She said, I can't spend 2 hours on hold with an insurance company. And I explained to them, I have patients. I don't have 2 hours to spend.
Yeah, that's insane.
It's crazy. And we're doing it as a courtesy for this lovely person. And this is unusual, but it amazes me. Okay. It amazes me of how oftentimes doctors will hire somebody to do nothing but insurance in their office. And I always say, you know what, if you could minimize your insurance involvement and you could have that person calling patients on the phone and getting them back in for treatment, or getting them back into the hygiene schedule, or re-engaging them in some way, as opposed to listening to bad music from MetLife on the phone. I would rather have them do people work instead of paperwork. So
totally.
Yeah. So if I can eliminate or minimize that, and get them, and help my patients understand that what our fees are all about. And we'll do our very best to help you maximize or utilize whatever insurance allowance you have, not insurance benefit. It's an allowance, and we help them understand that. We're going to do our very best to help utilize whatever insurance allowance that you have. However, we will not do it if it compromise. We're not going to compromise or limit our treatment based on the exceptions or exclusions of your plan and compromise our standards.
Yeah, no, at the dental lab, when I was at the lab years ago, I mean, I saw cases like that come in all the time where it feels like the insurance companies control the quality of care that we should be giving to patients, and insurance kind of the way they do their plans and their bullshit.
Oh, we get to swear on this?
Oh yeah, you can swear. This is
I'm so okay. I didn't know that.
You're good. Yeah.
Damn, I'm good now. I'm really good.
Yeah. These I literally have shirts that say F the PPOs. So it's pretty crazy. That's how I feel about it. Again, back to childhood trauma, listening to my mom.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
No, but it's interesting that it affects the quality of dentistry to patients. If I were a patient and I saw, if I understood that I was getting a lower quality crown or whatever it is I'm getting, I would be worried that, because I care about my health, and even if it's just my teeth. The teeth are really important, it doesn't sit well with me. It's never been something that I've liked hearing in the industry. And that's what's, over the years, that's what I've wanted to help the industry
But
change.
I think what's really important when you talk about affordability of dentistry, here's something that I'll never forget. People who have maybe don't have the same amount, they don't have the same financial means as someone else. They have to afford to do it right the first time, because they can't afford to do it over.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
I mean, it's, and I always have these analogies. Everybody laughs and says, oh my gosh, Debra, here's another analogy. So when I had my yard, initially, when we moved into our house, and I had my yard landscaped, I chose the lowest bid.
Sure.
And I got what I paid for. It all had to be redone, because when they put the trees in, they didn't unwrap them. They all died. They didn't treat the soil properly. They didn't put in any French drains. And you know what? Shame on me. I learned my lesson. So the question is, for a lot of doctors, do you want your practice to be known for, go see Dr. Smegly because he has the lowest fee possible, or go see Dr. Smegly because they take your insurance? Or do you want to be known as, go see them because they're going to take really good care of you and you're going to love your dentistry and it's going to last?
Yeah, totally. And that's something here with our team. We're always talking about, we're not the cheapest. We want to provide the best, with our services here. And I think that's something that I've always believed in, that there's obviously a market for cheap patients, but I don't know. I've dealt with that in the dental lab days, and they're not the funnest patients.
Well, and what's interesting, because the patients who want to pay the least want to get the most. They have a tendency. They have a tendency to be the most demanding. They're snarky. Yeah, I think about most people listening to this podcast know that I'm married to a dentist. By the way, if you would have ever told me I was going to be married to a Southern bald dentist and live east of the Mississippi, I would have said never in a million years. He was not a client. It's not like I was sleeping with a client. He was not a client. He became a client after, but and now he has since sold the practice. I didn't know if you knew that, Jordan. I think you did, because we work with BoomCloud.
Yeah.
And but now his new employer has retained me as his consultant, which is kind of fun.
And you guys are you run the Nash Institute.
We still run the Nash Institute. Yeah. But I think, so my husband has been a fee-for-service dentist since the 70s. And I actually tell you the story because he tells it. It's sort of kind of even a Roy Shelburne story. So way back So way back in the early 70s, he had a little small practice in Eden, North Carolina. And I know he's going to be comfortable telling the story. And he was taking insurance. And he wasn't a PPO, but he was taking insurance, and he had a a patient that the husband wanted him to extract the wife's teeth and give her dentures. And he said, I don't need to do that. I can restore them. And so he says, we don't need to give her dentures. Well, the something happened, and for some reason the husband was upset that Ross would not do these dentures for this patient.
Wow.
So he actually called the board and said, he's not treating my wife the way I think she should be treated. He wants to do this restorative dentistry. And yeah. And so they came in and audited Ross's records. They came in and they shut him down. They didn't take him to jail like they took Roy, but they audited him, and the board audited him, and they scrutinized, why did you have this patient come in for an RPC? We want to see the data. And I mean, he won. I mean, but it was arduous and it was heart-wrenching.
Yeah, I bet.
And but he said, what, I am never gonna let a third party dictate my standard of care. I am never gonna let that happen to me ever again. And from that point on, he said, I am strictly going to be fee for service. I'm going to dictate my standard of care. I am not going to, because, and think about this, if I'm a member of a lot of PPOs, so this PPO has this standard and this one has these requirements and this one has, when the moon is in the 7th house and Earth aligns with Mars, then you can charge the patient this amount of money. And Ross just said, what? I offer my patients one standard of care. So when patients call the office and they ask about insurance,
sure.
And we are really kind of a unicorn, because we are out of network. We're strictly fee for service. We have no accounts receivable. We collect everything prior to care, especially for a big case. So patients call us all the time and they say, are you in my plan, or do you take Delta? And my answer always is, I'd be happy to tell you how we handle insurance. I'd be happy to tell you that. I said, before I do, let me ask you a few questions. I said, how did you choose us? Why did you choose us? And why did you choose to call us? And they said, well, I Googled you. And I said, oh, so you got the opportunity to see the type of work that we do. And you had an opportunity to watch the video and learn a little bit more about Dr. Nash and Dr. Wormlinger and get to know us a little bit. And I say, I said, and most of our patients choose us because of the quality of care they're going to receive and their commitment to the type of work that we do. Most patients don't choose us because of insurance coverage. Let me tell you how we handle insurance.
Love it.
We don't. No, I don't say that.
Don't.
So, but I tell them, I say, we will do our best to help you utilize whatever allowance you have coming. As a courtesy, we will electronically file your insurance for you to be reimbursed by your company.
Sure.
We'll do we'll send all the data, we'll send all the information that they need to have that claim processed. And here's something that a lot of patients don't know, and I like to educate them. And I'll say, one of the reasons we do this is that we don't know if your coverage is going to change, and insurance companies have the capability and the license to change your coverage on a month-to-month basis. So it's not annually, it's monthly.
Yeah.
So if and it's your employer who chose the fee.
Do they have
schedule.
to give notice?
No.
Wow.
They don't have, so your employer chose the allowance that they consider to be usual and customary. So when your insurance company talks about usual and customary fee, it's the usual and customary fee that your employer said that they're going to establish that as your fee schedule for your company. So usual and customary fee is the established fee that was arranged by the human resource company or the human resource department and that particular insurance company.
Wow.
So I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So if my company went to you, the insurance company, and I said, hey, Jordan, your company's charging me too much for my premium, and I'm going to have to start shopping, you're going to say, well, I can lower your premium. We'll just lower the fee schedule for the patients.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Well, I don't give my employees dental insurance. They all have dental membership plans with one of our customers.
Yeah. So do ours.
Yes.
So do ours. We have, what's interesting, of course, we offer free dentistry for our team, but we don't offer free dentistry for our team's family members. So guess what? Yeah. Our team family members are on the membership plan.
No, that's awesome.
So they get a courtesy. But I think what's more importantly, when I say to patients that we'll do our very best, however, we do not have insurance companies dictate the standard of care that we're going to provide you. Our fees are based on 3 things.
Yeah.
And I always say, and I was doctors say, what were those 3 things? What are those 3 things? So the 3 things that we establish our fees are based on, number 1, the skill required to do it right.
Yeah.
The time.
And it is a skill. I mean,
yeah.
it's,
Yeah. The time it takes to do it well. And the materials, the laboratories, the technology that we use so that we know your restorations will endure, that they're going to last.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I actually use lab as an example. I say, there's some dentists who might choose a lab that is a very low fee, and some dentists send their lab work to China, and they get the crown back for $29, and it looks like a $29 crown. I said, we use the best labs in the country because we want your restorations to endure, and we want to be proud of what we do. And, whether you paid $400 or $4,000, if you're not happy, you paid too much. So those are the conversations that we have to help the patient understand about insurance and why insurance should play such a minor role. But you and I were having a brief conversation before we started. And I said, if we want insurance to play a minor role in our practices, and we don't want the patients to make decisions or calibrate their treatment based on insurance, why is it the first question we always ask?
Yeah. Why is it always well, what insurance do you take?
Yeah. So I say, hi, my name's, Debra Nash. I'd like to make an appointment for a new patient exam or a new patient consultation. I'm trying to wave off I see somebody over here in the distance who wants to pop his head in. He doesn't realize we're podcasting. So I'm like, go away, Dr. Nash, go away, step away.
I had that happen to me the other day too.
Yeah, I didn't close the door and say podcast in session. But so we always ask that question first. Well, what insurance do you have? And then we spend 10 minutes explaining insurance involvement and deductibles and maximums and allowances. And so then we wonder why the patient focuses on insurance, because we did. The other thing I hear a lot, Jordan, when I go into offices, I hear this, you will not believe I hear this. So the doctor will present an amazing treatment plan, and the patient will be released to have a conversation about finances.
Okay.
And the treatment coordinator or the dental assistant, hygienist, receptionist, whomever that person is who's going to be presenting the financial arrangements and potentially the treatment plan to the patient says, oh, I see the doctor has this treatment plan for you. Your insurance only has $1,000 allowance. It's like, talk about a Debbie Downer.
Yeah.
And literally, say, oh yeah, this is a great treatment plan. This is a $12,000 case. Your insurance is only going to cover $1,000.
Yeah, that will close the deal.
Yeah. Now
Yikes.
we can't. Yeah, I hear that a lot. Well, or, and if I could do the visual, I have doctors who I watch them and they do the exam and the consultation, and then they roll their dental chair back they roll it into the hallway, and they yell down the hall, hey, Doris, what kind of insurance do they have?
Oh no.
And I say, wait a minute, you're
determining diagnose.
You're determining your treatment plan based on their coverage.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember one day at the dental lab, we got a lab slip that said, please fabricate the lowest and cheapest cost crown possible due to the patient's insurance. And I was shocked when I read that lab slip years ago. I'm like, I can't believe that that's the mindset that not only obviously insurance has created, but we as dental professionals have done and encouraged right over time. So it's insane. So I got a question for you. So a lot of practice that speak with us here at Boom Cloud and on our podcast as well, they're wanting to reduce dependence on PPOs and insurance. They want to become fee for service. I know you work with a lot of practices and you do your courses at the Nash Institute. What are some of your tips on beginning the journey to becoming fee for service?
Yeah, right, because it is a journey, and right now, I will tell you that I would say the majority, maybe kind of the majority, of large sect of my clients right now are how to help me transition out of insurance.
Yeah, it's a big thing. In the past couple of years.
Well, and look what's happening.
Yeah.
Look, not only are they reducing their coverage, they're reducing their allowances. They're reducing their allowances, and they're asking the doctor to to jump through more hoops
Sure.
to get the lower fee. So now if I want to do a post-care buildup, I have to send a photograph and a radiograph, a preoperative and a postoperative photograph and radiograph.
Wow.
Like, it's almost like the insurance says, we don't trust you.
It's like, hey, the insurance companies now are becoming the IRS. Let's just make it more complicated.
Yeah.
You know?
So it's crazy. So the first thing
Nasty.
that needs to, yeah. So I think the first thing that the office needs to do is that they need to run a report and say, what percentage of my patients have insurance? They might be
Sure.
surprised, and they could look at their top, how many of my are Delta, how many are MetLife, how many are Cigna, what percentage of my patient base have these plans. And
Okay.
the first thing and you also have to be careful if you're going to sign up for a plan, you want to be careful that you're not caught in this umbrella.
The
Because sometimes the whole, now you've got an umbrella of plans and you
Yeah.
thought you were signing up for one.
It happens a lot.
And you now have 7.
Mhm.
So do your due diligence about what plan you're signing up for. But let's say you're wanting to transition out. First of all, find out what percentage of your patients are on that particular plan. And then I would also take a look at the fee schedule of that plan. So let's say if your crowns are, the standard crown is $2,000, and that plan will cover like $480.
Oh,
You have to take a look at, look at my write-off. So here's the question. How many fee-for-service patients would it take to replace that insurance patient?
Mm.
So I'm losing what, 500, and I'm losing, if my crown's 2,000 and the insurance company is going to make it, I don't like math, so let's make it easy. My insurance, my crown fee is 2,000. The insurance is going to cover me at 500. So I'm losing $1,500 per crown.
Yeah. That's insane.
How many patients, fee-for-service patients, would I need to replace?
To recoup that or replace it.
that? Very few.
Yeah.
I would need
Not a lot.
two, maybe 3. So I can take a look at what would be my plan if for whatever reason I lost that percentage of patients in my practice because I'm no longer participating in that plan. How long would it take me to recoup the cost? How much am I writing off for that plan? How long
Sure.
would it take me to recoup that cost by moving fee for service? And then I would start, if I'm getting ready to do that, then I would start a campaign for those patients.
Yeah.
And I would say this, I've seen some letters, Jordan, that my colleagues have written that really make insurance out as the bad guy. And that's,
Sure.
we know that they are the evil ones.
Yeah.
We know that, but we don't
They're
want the
pretty much
patient-
the devil.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
But we don't want to pit ourselves against the insurance company to the patient.
Exactly. I
So
agree.
the letters, I mean, I think I read one letter from a consultant that said something like, we can no longer afford to be on your plan because it doesn't even cover our costs. And most patients think that dentists are rich.
That's what it said.
Well, I mean, it says,
That's what they.
yeah, that's what they said. So now the patient's going to say, well, dentists make a lot of money. So they're basically saying that they're not willing to take this cut and they're going to pass that off to me. The dentist can afford to take the cut more than I can. So I never want to say it's,
Sure.
we're dropping this plan because they're cutting their costs and we're losing money because of that. We want to say that we are no longer going to participate in this plan because it's compromised. Their limitations, their exceptions, and their exclusions are compromising our standard of care, or potentially compromising our standard of care.
Sure.
So that has nothing to do with the money piece, even though that internally is one of the reasons.
Sure.
The patient reason is that we are eliminating ourselves from this particular plan because their dramatic changes in their structure is going to compromise our standard of care.
Yeah.
And our commitment
That
is to
sounds nice.
you, not to your insurance company.
Love it.
So,
Yeah, no, I think that so step one is to look at the data and the opportunities,
yeah.
of how many uninsured, how many insured, how many are on certain plans.
How
So
much
getting
are you
that
writing
data-
off? And how would how much are you writing
Sure.
off, and how long would it take you to recoup that for a fee
Yeah,
for
no,
service?
I love that. And then really getting the verbiage down, because that
Oh,
understanding how to communicate to patients So my brother's our chief operating officer here at Boom Cloud, and he's he read 30 business books this quarter, and he reported to the leadership team here. He's like, the most important books that I've realized that I've been reading are communication books.
Oh,
and because it happens all the time. We're communicating with people. You and I are communicating right now. We're communicating with customers, internal employees, my wife, my kids, right? Communication is one of the most important tools that we could use, not only in business and in practice management, but just in life in general, right? So I think, to your point, making sure you're using the right words.
And
presenting it right.
Going backwards, sort of, because I have to make sure that also, if you're getting ready to drop a plan, you have to find out what your contract reads. How much notice do you have to give as well? So you can't just drop a plan. You have to give them notice, and you have to know that if the plan is 90 days, then you're going to eliminate that plan as being a preferred provider.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to, that they are going to send a letter. So you want your letter to beat their letter.
I see.
So you want your letter to beat their letter, because they're going to get that letter. But you also know that there's requirements that if you've already initiated treatment on the plan, you have to finish it on the plan. And there's some requirements to do that. But I think what's most importantly is the team has to be on board with this. So we want to help the team. We want to avoid the team saying, I'm sorry, but that's the doctor's new policy. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, because that's basically saying, I don't agree with that policy or that protocol, but there's nothing I can do about it. And what that is also implying is it's wrong. Yeah. So when you say I'm sorry, or you're saying you're unfortunately, who used to say, I understand and appreciate the standard of care that she wants to provide the patients, and I can see that she gets frustrated and she feels like her hands are tied when she's limited by the restrictions of that plan.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a great tip. Another thing that I mean, when I tell practices that, because like I said, 95% of people, when they call us at Boom Cloud, that they're trying to reduce dependence on PPOs and become, more fee for service.
Well, it's a great alternative. It
is. And I think, obviously setting up a dental membership plan is super critical from what I've seen out there. As you're looking at the data, like Debra said, looking at who's insured, who in which plans they have, who's uninsured, who's inactive is something that we look at Boom Cloud, because a lot of the times patients go inactive because I don't have dental insurance, so I can't go to the dentist anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of people think that way. So we take those buckets of opportunities, and we always recommend educating those patients on joining your dental membership plan, right? It's a key to, number one, a key to creating cash flow or predictable recurring revenue as you're going out of network, and then a key as a retention strategy for those types of patients.
Well,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I had a little bit of sugar and some cocaine. A little bit of cocaine and some sugar.
Oh man, my face is going to be hurting at the end of this podcast.
So I think what's really important is when you take a look, you could also take a look at your population. Here's what's the kind of the good news, because we all have to see, the bad news, the bad news. So here's the good news. The good news is our aging population. Number one, that's good news.
Oh yeah.
Aging population and people who are doing early retirement, they're not going to have dental insurance. So we should be running a report in our office. When you're getting ready to do a membership plan, you should be running a report in your office. I want to contact every one of my patients who's 55 years and older, because I know that they're going to be transitioning out, or their companies may be limiting now because they're trying to reduce costs. They might be limiting the benefits or in their compensation packages. So I'd run a list of everybody who's 55 or older and say, you may be no longer being offered dental insurance. So we have a plan. We have an alternative. Here's the other thing that's so cool. So I can't do this if I can't do both. I can't have dental insurance and in-office membership plan, but what we're doing right now, this Zoom thing we're doing. Have you heard of, Jordan, have you heard about the Zoom Boom? It's called the Zoom Boom.
I don't know. No, maybe.
You're frightened, aren't you? You
I'm
have
frightened
no idea.
now. I'm like, where is she going?
What is? You know, a lot of my friends say the same thing. Oh my gosh, what's she doing now? So they're calling it the Zoom boom. And here's what happened. This whole pandemic situation and all that's happened. And we all learned how to do this. We all learned to have Zoom meetings.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Corporates, professionals, people, who are, high executives are doing this, and they're on Zoom and they're going,
yeah, like I've noticed my diastema like 12 times.
They're going like this. And I'm going, and so what happens, so that's called the Zoom. So now plastic surgery and cosmetic aesthetic elective treatment has an all-time high.
Yeah, I've noticed this too with practices that use or have a membership plan. They're adding like Botox and things like that to their membership plans.
Oh my gosh! See, we can't do it in North Carolina. We can't do that, but
yeah, I'm sure there's state regulations.
When our patients look at the fact that they can do cosmetic dentistry and they can receive we offer a 10% courtesy on their restorative treatment. They say, "I'm going to get 10% off of my elective treatment." Well, you're going to get 10% off of all of your treatment, but I mean, I could do my veneers and I'm getting a discount. You're getting a membership courtesy is what you're getting. It's not a discount. We want to, you're getting a membership
savings or courtesy. I like courtesy.
Yeah. You're getting membership courtesy. It's like, well, I want this.
Yeah. Totally.
So some of the patients actually want in-office membership because they are of an age that they are losing their benefits. And so now they're looking at recare and wanting to be in recare. I'll tell you why. We did it for a totally different reason.
Yeah. Tell us why.
Well, yeah, because we'd like to know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, here's our situation. We get a lot of referrals in our office for cosmetic and aesthetic treatment.
Sure. Yeah.
And what would happen many times is they would come in and if they were referred by another dentist, we always send them back to the other dentist. I mean, we would never keep a patient in our practice because then we lose our referral source, right?
Oh, sure.
If you are Dr. Comstock and you are a general dentist and you referred, we have a general dentist here who's 5 miles away, and she's probably referred 6 patients a month for cosmetic treatment. Wow. Well, we're not going to keep that patient.
Yeah, you're just going to do the cosmetic case
and send them back for restorative treatment, right? Or we're going to lose that referral source. But if they have come to us for a different reason, they've come to us for some other reason, they weren't referred by another dentist or a specialist. Oftentimes they will say, well, I'm going to go someplace else to have my teeth cleaned. And I'll say, well, you might want to stay here. And here's what we have to offer you. So our reason for doing it, which is probably not usual, is patient retention.
Yeah.
We decided we wanted an office membership because we wanted to inspire the patient to stay in our practice.
Yeah. No, I think that is a very important quality of the membership plans is the retention strategy. What's actually interesting in regards to the, subscription dentistry or whatever we call it, right? Membership plans. I'm seeing more practices offering unlimited whitening membership plans. In fact, there's an office here. There are 13 locations now. That's all they do is like whitening subscriptions. And that's something that you could offer to your insured patients and your uninsured patients and get a retention or subscription.
Well, if you were wanting to really build up a brand new practice, if you were a young office and you're coming in and you needed to build more new patients, what a great way to do that.
Yeah. I mean, that's something I know. I think I read a stat, like 56% of Americans aren't happy with the color of their teeth. And I remember at the dental lab, when we did like the shade matching, when patients would come in and do shade matching with us, nobody was ever satisfied with their current like color of the teeth.
No,
like, well,
they want OM1.
Can you make it a little bit lighter? It's like, whoa, okay, this is going to be like a fluorescent tooth next to your other, A3 teeth or whatever,
Yeah.
But that is something that is interesting that I'm seeing that there's actual businesses now in dentistry that are just only doing teeth whitening membership.
Well, and you probably know this because you're a pretty savvy marketer and social media expert, far more than me, but the number one searched words on the internet in dentistry, teeth whitening. Number one, Google search.
And from a marketing standpoint, Deborah, this is how I look at it. I even have I have giant whiteboards in my office next to my studio here that are from floor to the ceiling. And I have it designed out. I call it the practice revenue engine. And the fact that you said that that's the first thing that patients are looking for in a practice, I call that front funnel opportunities or top funnel opportunities. I'm using marketing jargon. But from my perspective of running any type of company, practice, software company, dental lab, you want to be able to generate predictable recurring revenue, or any type of revenue really, but predictable recurring revenue from anywhere from the front funnel, when patients are discovering you, all the way to the back funnel. And that, when I say back end, that's going to be like all on fours and the bigger type of treatment, cosmetic treatment. So you want to be able, but my point is you want to be able to track those patients searching, and looking for teeth whitening, and then getting them on in some type of retainer plan, like an unlimited whitening membership plan. So that's kind of how I look at it, especially for finding new patients but also attracting your uninsured to pay you a subscription. Or
it's really interesting insured. Because it's also interesting that patients who are searching for teeth whitening or for cosmetic and aesthetic dentistry probably have other restorative needs, and totally. you're gonna have to do a limited consultation. You're gonna have to make sure that you're doing some sort of periodontal evaluation and making sure that, because if you're going to put impression trays in a patient's mouth, or you're going to do you want to make sure that they have that they're healthy.
Well, yeah, and if they're going to get crowns or veneers, and maybe they're not happy with the color, you got to do the whitening stuff first, and then the next step.
And what happens sometimes is, they only want to afford. See, notice I say that they only want to afford the uppers. They only want to afford the uppers. So what they'll do is they'll whiten the lowers before they do the uppers to get these as white as possible, so that they can match the color that they want on top.
Sure. Interesting. No, I just thought that was fascinating that, a lot of practices are starting to do that within our platform, but just down the street here in Utah, there's a whitening only practice that does a membership plan. I called them up the other day. I'm like, how many? I'm such a geek, Deborah. This is what I do on my spare time. I called the office up. I'm like, how many members do you have on your membership plan? And they're like, we have over 2,000 active whitening membership patients. And I think they're charging $39 a month for whitening, unlimited whitening. And then they get a discount on, other types of products they had there. And I'm like, holy smokes, that's $1 million business just with whitening.
Well, think about, in terms of subscriptions and sometimes people don't even know they have them. I know here in, and I don't know if the franchise is national, I'm sure it is, but there is it's called Amazing Lash. It's a lash extensions. Okay.
Yep. My wife does
eyelash extensions. Yep. And my friend Mike Buckner says, whatever Carly needs to do, if she wants those lashes, she gets those lashes, but she looks great in those lashes. So she gets them. So once again, you subscribe to, because our friend Penny, you subscribe to their lash club
subscription or something.
Yeah. And you get X amount of visits per month for that fee. And it's lower than if you went in without being in the lash club.
Yeah.
So same thing applies. Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
It's interesting.
It's definitely something that, at least I'm seeing, practices they're going fee for service. That's definitely a necessary step that they need to take, aside from all the information you gave us. I have another question.
I think there's you can think about that.
Go finish your comment.
Because I have to tell you this.
Yeah, you go.
Because it's there, there are a lot, because I'm kind of I'm a rogue on this. There are so many people who say the DSOs are swallowing up general practice.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've heard that ever since I started the dental lab like 15 years ago.
Oh, you know what? I remember when I was first in the dental industry. You were
like, we're gonna die. Yeah, I wasn't born.
Oh, no, there was a big cover on Time Magazine, and it was called Doc in a Box. And that was when they started talking about franchise dentistry. And they were talking about, the Walmart dentist and the DSO dentist. And you know what? Yes, they're going to be there. So it's like any kind of, it's dentistry in general. You can choose. Am I going to be a high fee, low volume practice? Am I going to be a low fee, high volume practice? There's no right or wrong. It's what do you want to create?
Sure.
What do you want to brand? Am I going to be a DSO office? Am I going to be a boutique fee for service practice? I mean, stay in your lane, stay in your lane. And if you're going to be in the lane of fee for service practice, then you've got to behave in a fee for service way. Yeah. So you have to have things like an in-office membership plan. You have to go above and beyond. I always say to my team, if our fees are in the 90th percentile.
Nice.
So I say, you know what? Our patients aren't going to say, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful crown and it's worth that. So they're not going to say, yeah, this is worth that kind of money because it's a beautiful crown. They're going to say it's worth that kind of money because of the way that I'm treated while I'm there.
Yeah.
And the professionalism of the team and the follow through and all of those things. So do we have DSOs? We do. Yeah. We've had DSOs forever. Do we have, is the fee for service practice dying or dead? I don't think it is.
I don't think so. I'm seeing more and more practice headed that direction and becoming that fee for service, right? I definitely don't think it's dying. And, there's a lot of different business models that work in dentistry, which is cool.
What's your question?
My last question for you is, what are you've worked with practices across the nation on becoming fee for service. What are some of the challenges when a practice becomes fee for service?
A lot of it is there's the fear factor.
Yeah.
Am I going to lose these patients?
Yeah.
Am I going to lose? What's going to happen to my patient? What's going to happen to my patient base?
What really happens, because fear is one thing, and emotional distortion from that fear is one thing.
I like that, emotional distortion.
Yeah, that's my favorite word.
I've had dates that they were emotionally distorted.
Me too.
Yeah.
What because that is something I hear all the time, is I literally was talking to a practice in Hawaii the other day, helping one of my sales people out, because he kept talking about his fear of, if I go to a network, if I become fee for service, I'm gonna lose all my patients. So that's a fear, and a lot of the times it's over exaggerated. What is the reality that you see out there? I
think the reality is, typically what I have seen is that you might lose a percentage. Now, once again,
sure.
Okay, once again, I would say I would include in all the data that you're collecting that you need to do possibly a demographic psychographic survey and find out what percentage of my patients in this community have are committed to or are dependent on dental insurance. So, for example, do I have a major employer in my town, and most of the patients in this area work for that major employer? And that major employer, there's a client in Nashville. So most of their patients work at the hospital across the street.
Sure.
So they have to take a look at, those employees at that major hospital have Blue Cross Blue Shield. Well, they have to take a look at 65% of our patients have Blue Cross Blue Shield. Am I going to drop that plan? I probably wouldn't drop that plan, but I have other plans that I would drop. So it still affects my bottom line. I can still improve my bottom line in other areas. So it doesn't mean you're going to say, I'm getting rid of all the plans.
Yeah.
If you have a major employer and most of your patients come from that employer, that company, you're probably going to keep that plan as a courtesy. You're going to keep that plan because it's 65% of your base.
Yeah.
But I would say on the average, most offices lose somewhere from between 15 and 25%. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to come back. They're going to say, you know what? I tried to go to another office and I didn't get the same care that I got here. And I'm willing to pay the difference.
Dentistry is a relationship business, right? And a lot of
I wish everybody realized that.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
So going back, making sure you understand your data. When I say data, that's all what Debra talked about.
Yeah, get your data. Fear, overcome your fear.
And data will help with that. So it's one of
those things. Yeah. What? Okay. So there's always that, because what is that cute little phrase? What if I jump and I fall? Oh, but what if you jump and you fly?
Yeah. Wonderful. And a lot of the times, I've heard stories over and over again of practices having that initial fear, and that being the challenge becoming fee for service, but then they actually one day go down that journey and go down that road. And they're like, wow, why didn't I do this 10 years ago or whatever,
Exactly.
insert your years of business, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting. So any other challenges you see out there that practices face when they become fee for service, or when they become fee for service, are they happy and excited? Like, what is it? What's the end game?
Well, okay.
Or end result?
I mean, I think you're that is such a really cute and kind of juvenile question, because how many doctors would like to be paid full fee for their treatment? I mean, if you charge $2,000 for a crown and you are electing to receive $750, you realize that you're not getting paid for, I mean, I go back to data. Okay, how much does it cost you to fabricate that restoration? So
and if you go back further, how much did it cost you to go to school and learn the skill that you're using?
Well, yeah. But let's say it's costing me $30 an hour for a dental assistant. I use one there, and it's costing me $300 to $400 to have the crown fabricated. And even if I'm doing an in-office crown, it's costing me $75 an ingot, and it cost me $90,000 for the piece of equipment. So people always say, "Oh, well, it's a CEREC." Yeah, well, you know,
and the human operating that machine,
and the human operating that machine. So how much is it costing you to fabricate that crown? You should be making 4 times what it's costing you.
Sure.
So you take a look at the insurance isn't covering that. So I think that I think the other piece is the doctor has to be the leader and have that commitment to say, hey team, I want to do this. I want to do this. And I feel really, I mean, Ross never wavers. He never wavered. There is never even a thought that he would go, he'd go in network with any plan. And some patients will say, why aren't you in my network? And we say, we'll be happy to share that with you. It's because of the caliber of the dentistry we want to provide you. And it's the commitment we have to not compromise our standards. And I always say this, there are so many dental insurances, there's hundreds of thousands of different plans, and they all have different exceptions and exclusions. You see your plan and you see the exceptions and exclusions from your plan, but there's hundreds of thousands of them. And when we decide to participate in one, that actually dilutes our standard, because now we have to comply and we have to complement all the different exceptions and exclusions. It just makes it cleaner for us to do it one standard of care for all of our patients, helping you receive whatever allowance you have coming. And it just, our relationship is with you, the patient, and the quality of care that we promise you, not the compromises that we're willing to make for the insurance company. And, I don't want to, sometimes if I'm really comfortable with a patient, and we've known each other, I gave him a hickey in 2012. And I can say, insurance companies want to look at the difference between what an insurance building looks like and what a dental office looks like in terms of ambiance. How many stories do they have? How much does the CFO of an insurance company make? Tens of millions of dollars, as opposed to, so they want to make at least 20 cents on the dollar. And when, so that's their goal, is to make 20 cents on the dollar. And, so they're in the money-making business. So are we. We're in the money-making business. But I think when the doctor turns to the team and says, I need your help and I need us to work through, I think the other obstacle is when you don't work through, which we talked about earlier, when you don't work through the communication skill on how we're going to present it to the patients, what we're going to say, how we're going to tell them, and making sure that the entire team is comfortable, not scripting it, but giving them kind of a framework, and then letting them use their own words to say. So here's what I sometimes will ask. I forgot about this. Sometimes I'll say to the team when we're talking about doing this, and I just do this I'm getting ready to go back to an office in Baltimore. We're now on phase 2. And I said, all right, let's just think about this. So said the doctor said that she is offering you $40 an hour. However, she is a PPO dental practice, therefore, and she's a PPO dental employer. So now she is actually only going to pay you 40% of your wage because she's a PPO employer.
Yeah.
So even though she said she'd pay you $40 an hour, she's only going to pay you 40% of that because she's a PPO.
Yeah.
So that means out of the $40, they kind of go, what? I go, So what your basic, so how would you feel if the doctor said, hey, I'm a PPO employer, so I'm only going to pay you 40% of your $40 wage? Well, that's, yeah. And then they kind of go, I get it. I get it. I get it.
So analogies do work.
A lot.
It's a smart way to communicate.
But when you explain it to the team that way, they say, now I see why we can't cut our costs like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, it makes sense when you explain it that way. And I think that especially if you can talk that way to, your patients, I think that's a really smart way to go about it. I mean, I think you can talk that way to pretty much any patient. Hey, imagine if, I was your employer, I said, I'm going to pay you $40 an hour, but because of a certain plan you're on, I'm going to give you a discount off of that and pay you not $40 an hour.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
I'm discounting that by 40%.
40%.
Yeah. Or 60%.
Yeah. You want to come join my company still?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a PPO. Yeah. So I think that getting the team on board. So getting your data. So if you were saying, here are your steps, getting your data, making sure that you've got all that information. How much am I writing off every year? How much what would I have to do for how many fee for service treatments would cover those costs? It's probably going to be far less than you think. I'm going to do a demographic, psychographic survey of my community. That's easy to do. There's companies that will do that for you. Do I have a major employer in my practice? Then the bulk of my patients come from that employer. What is their plan? By the way, another way for in-office membership plans to work, and I know, Jordan, you talk about this. I know I'm going down a totally different path, but when you get these small companies and say, you may not be able to offer dental insurance for your patients, we have a plan for them. You might want to refer your patients to, we could work in partnership with you to invite your employees, we could work in partnership with you to invite your employees to participate in our office plan.
Yeah, and we consult with that all the time with our
maybe
clients.
The employer pays part of that membership fee. I don't know. So
I mean, that's what I do with all my employees. I pay 100% of their dental membership.
Yeah,
because I'm nice. I'm the best boss in the world.
Because you're like the guy who bought the hair club. Not only were you a client, you actually did your hair. So I think I think it's also, you've got to get your team on board, and you've got to make sure that you understand what your timeline is in terms of getting out of that particular plan, and get your letter ready, and make sure that the letter isn't punitive and it doesn't denigrate the insurance company. It's all about, we want to always provide our patients with the best care possible. And we have found that this particular plan limits our ability to do that. Not that we can't afford this plan anymore because it's too, it's not covering our costs. Just say, its restrictions.
Make it about the benefit to the patient, not about your costs.
Not about our overhead. Your patients don't care about your overhead.
No, they don't.
So it's not about overhead. So make sure that the letter is patient friendly, and make sure that the timing is that letter. And once again, I got to sit down with my team and help them understand, how we are going to talk to the patients about that. In our office, that we just say, we collect the fee at the time of care, and we will as a courtesy, we'll electronically file for you to be reimbursed.
That's awesome. No, I love that. So, Debra, this has been an awesome episode.
Oh, can I say one more thing? I know.
Say one more thing.
Probably done. Okay. Order a pizza. We're going to be here for a while. Here's what's also important and timely right now. You're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm never going to ask her back because I can't get her off.
I will always ask you back.
Because think about this. Right now, everybody's worried about this great resignation of team, right?
Sure, yeah.
We're short-staffed. We can't find them, blah, blah, blah. So I don't need as many team members if I don't participate in insurance. I don't need an insurance coordinator because I'm not going to participate that heavily with insurance, or I'm going to outsource it if I do. But I can repurpose the people that I have, and that I don't need as many staff.
Sure,
it makes sense. I just worked with an office yesterday in Florida, and they were talking about adding another person. And I said, you know what, if you took her off this task and put her onto this task of engaging patients, you'd be ahead. Don't bring another person, and you don't need another person. You need to repurpose her.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
So less insurance, That's why I get paid the big bucks. less
love it.
insurance dependence. That person can focus on other more
critical things. Yeah. That are
other
gonna
income producing tasks.
Yeah. And that's a good business model when we got all your team focused on revenue.
It goes back to what
tasks.
I said earlier. People work, not paperwork.
There we go. Love it. Debra, so tell everybody listening, where can they find more information about your consulting and the Nash Institute? I know you speak a lot. You got a website that you can
I have a website. Yeah, they can, if they want to just, it's easy, except my name is spelled wrong. I mean,
I'll make sure I put it in show notes.
No, it's just so, it's like, I wanted to use every letter in the alphabet in my name. So no, it's Debra, but I'm Debra, not the other way. And I'm Engelhardt. It's ENGELHARDT Nash, NASH cool. So Debra Engelhardt Nash.com or Debra Engelhardt Nash @gmail.com.
I'll make sure I put everything in the show.
Yeah, you can put my cell phone number down. If people have questions, I do not have a meter on my phone yet. I don't have a meter. I'm not an attorney. I don't start the time clock doesn't click on, and I don't do that yet. I've only had one person ever abuse my telephone time, and it was a spouse of a doctor. And I just said,
call Debra now before she adds that meter.
Yeah, no meter. I love what I do. I have to say one thing as we close. Somebody was talking to my husband who's been a dentist for 42 years and the cosmetic and aesthetic. And probably because he's been fee for service and he gets paid on everything he does. And so he's a happy dentist. He's happy. He's happy all the time because he's getting paid full fee. He's not feeling resentful or bitter about, I did this beautiful work and I only got paid 40% of it. But I think what's also important, he said, you know what, if I didn't have a passion for this, I wouldn't have been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
And I think I feel the same way. And I know you feel the same way. If I didn't have a passion for what I do, I'd stop doing it. My friends say, when are you going to stop working? And I say, when I stop loving it, I'll stop doing it.
I think I'm the same mindset. I love what I do, come to the office every day, excited to work with the people and help the practices that we do. So I love that. That's your mindset still.
Yeah, that's mine.
Love it. Debra Nash, everybody. Debra, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Great to see you, Jordan. Always. I'll see you at a big meeting. ADOM. I'll see you.
ADOM, ADMC. We'll see each other. We'll see each other a lot through.
We will.
In
multiple
states.
Thanks for the great service that you have.
Thank you.
All right.